Low-cost airline FlySafair could face a suspension imposed by the South African International Air Services Council regarding its foreign ownership structure. In a statement, the low-cost airline has maintained compliance with prevailing regulation. Local aviation regulation limits foreign ownership to domestic airlines to 25%. The IASC believes that FlySafair has failed to comply with this regulation. In February of 2022, the IASC received formal complaints from both Airlink and Global Aviation, which operates Lift Airline, about FlySafair's shareholding structure. The council therefore looked into the matter, which led to the finding of non-compliance. FlySafair says it takes IASC's concerns seriously and awaits further communication from the council in the next 20 days. The low-cost airline says it remains committed to remain fully compliant with the South African regulations and upholding the highest standards of government. Nozipho Mbatha, who's Vincent Olia's logistics managing director, weighs in on this matter. She joins us. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, this is a matter that leads us to believe that FlySafair faces a rather uncertain future. What is at stake?
Good evening, Paul, and good evening to your viewers. Actually, yeah, a lot is at stake for the airline, obviously, given that they are facing a possibility of having their license revoked or suspended. And obviously, currently, FlySafair is a dominating domestic airline that we have. But I think also we are catching this at the tail end, you know, as a country, because the main question should be how was the operating license issued? Under what conditions and terms of reference was this operating license issued to have allowed this to go this far and become such a threat in the economy, because obviously this will affect our economy, the movement of goods, the movement of people, as FlySafair is one of basically the leading domestic airline. How was the license issued? What conditions were placed on this license, and did FlySafair contravene the act under which the license was issued, or how did we arrive here? So I think that's the critical question to ask, that how did we arrive here? How did we have an airline operating in complete non-compliance with our regulation?
Yeah, because this is a matter that was raised, I mean, the red flag around 2022, where complaints about FlySafair's shareholding structure came under the spotlight. What are the concerns around this shareholding structure? What makes it so problematic that, I mean, anything could happen from this point onwards? I mean, South Africa's authority could cancel or even suspend FlySafair's aviation license.
Definitely, that is a high possibility. Hence, I'm saying that the act under which the license was issued comes into effect, because the act will also tell you that should you contravene the act, what then are the sanctions that you are facing. And indeed, the possibility is the license being completely revoked, if not suspended. But it goes back to what I'm saying, that if we do not hold accountable the structures that are entrusted with the responsibility to regulate, therefore, when they issue these licenses, they issue them in accordance with the law, we will then find ourselves sitting here. I mean, there is an intention, Paul, behind these regulations. There is an intent. You talk about traffic rights. I can't just go to Ireland and establish an airline as a South African entity based on the regulations that regulates traffic rights in that country. There is a reason behind it, the management of data, of passenger information, the management of our aviation spaces, even in alignment with the Defence Force. There is a lot that is at stake. There is an intent behind the regulation that regulates how licenses are issued, that actually tells you your limitations as an operating airline. Hence, I'm saying that I feel like the conversation is sitting at the wrong place if we are only saying, now that we are here, what is at stake, what should be done. The act is clear. You cannot operate out, because if you listen to what the CEO is saying at FlySafair, he's saying as far as they are concerned, they are compliant, because the legal advice they have says that they are compliant, but the regulator, the findings are they are non-compliant. So then it goes back to that part, that when the license, because perhaps there was something in their licensing when it was issued that actually gave them a loophole to then operate with this level of foreign ownership. We don't have the details to that. So it goes back to what are the conditions under which the license is issued in alignment with the Act. If they've contravened that, it is unfortunate that the license might be revoked. But at the same time, the country is going through a lot. Our economy is going through a lot. So we do not want to condone misbehavior, and we do not want to violate our own laws. But at the same time, the authorities have to ensure that we do not irresponsibly disrupt the movement of people and the goods during a peak season without ensuring that there is a plan to actually absorb or put shock absorbers into however may happen with regards to this license.
It's an important balancing act that you make reference to here, because as I look at some of the finer details around the act, it requires that holders of aviation licenses in South Africa have a minimum of 75% local shareholding. In other words, the airlines that fly locally are required to be owned individually by individuals who are actually residents of the country. I mean, that in itself raises some concerns, because the government, it says, passed the act to ensure South African-based shareholders and investors become custodians of these airlines and interest in the local aviation industry. So in essence, somebody's getting chopped off here. And you're right, the balancing act will be something very important to consider on what kind of action government will take. Is it going to be grounding flights effectively so until its shareholding structure is fixed? Because you make mention of a very important time. It's peak season. And as far as I know, FlySafair has captured around 60% of the domestic aviation sector.
Indeed, Mpho, but that's what I'm saying, that, there is no in-between here. The Act is clear. You must operate under the conditions in which your license has been issued. And the Act also is clear in terms of ownership structures for airlines that are operating domestic routes. It is the same thing in other countries because of traffic rights and everything that comes with that. So you cannot just willy-nilly do as you please. So it becomes imperative to start at that part, to say, if they are saying, relying on the legal advice that they have, they are compliant, yet the regulator is saying they are non-compliant. Who dropped the ball? That person must be held accountable, because I believe that the root cause is at that level, that whoever issued the operating license, because I do not see how investors could risk themselves and operate in full contravention of the Act and the conditions under which the license is issued. And if the regulator is saying they are non-compliant, they cannot operate in South African airspace without being compliant. The Act is clear. So if the license is suspended, by virtue, the aircrafts are grounded. It is as simple as that. So that's why it becomes imperative for our government to start holding accountable the officers that actually do not do their job, or actually do deliberately collude with businesses to contravene the laws, because these laws are, as you rightfully say, a local airline could have taken up that space, could have taken up that opportunity, but it found itself competing with people that are operating in pounds or in euros, and they were blocked out, right? So, but more than that, as I'm saying, there's more to it than just the commercial aspect of it in terms of traffic rights. So indeed, the high possibility here is that the airline, in accordance with the law, if we read the act, the airline will find itself grounded, and we have to start thinking about what happens then.
Or unless they decide to sell shares to locals to fit the shareholding structure by ensuring that locals are now able to access these shares.
Definitely, that is the obvious solution to bring in the local partners, because that's where the contravening of the act is. But also you have to think about, okay, if FlySafair is saying this is how we are going to solve this problem, it's not that simple, but it is a solution, because you have to think about when they are selling their stake in the airline, because you are talking about now a foreign-owned airline in essence. It would cost much more than a domestic-owned airline. Are you going to find the competent partners who can actually replace that investment, given that this is, in essence, a foreign-owned airline? So you might actually find yourself stuck in the middle there, but it is a solution to actually disperse some shares. But Paul, you are talking about 50% of that stake of a foreign-owned airline, because they are sitting at 70% and the local shareholders are 25%. So it means they must get rid of 50% of the ownership, which is quite a chunk. So it will be interesting. Maybe this would be an opportunity for our domestic, for our national carrier to actually get back the routes, because most of the routes that were taken by FlySafair were SAA routes, so the SOE can afford to buy that stake. Maybe that partnership, that public-private partnership that fell apart, could be resuscitated through this crisis. That's why I'm saying whatever we are doing here, we have to ensure that we are cognizant of the economy and how it's going to affect everybody. So whatever solution we bring forth, it has to try and stabilize the industry. So SAA could be a much more fit as an SOE to actually buy the 50%, because these were originally their routes. That is an option, so that also the jobs can be absorbed. You can't just shut down the airline. This is one of our biggest airlines, so jobs must be preserved. So if SAA is the partner that can step in there, that also would, yes, it's a government entity, but it will also be a local partnership still, because I think it's going to be quite difficult for local players to actually purchase 50% of a foreign-owned entity. And you also, I mean, the interesting thing, Paul, is that the people that are complaining about this, are they compliant in terms of BEE compliance? Are they compliant themselves? You know, so this is also another opportunity for us emerging airlines to actually participate in these commercial licenses through BEE partnerships, you know, because the interesting part is that when you speak about BEE, you find those who are ahead of us saying, no, race is not a competitive edge. But this is no different when how is location a competitive edge? So there's more to it than this. So it will be interesting to see how this unfolds. But in essence, when all is said and done, the license of FlySafair is at a huge risk. And also the regulator cannot just say on the findings that they are not compliant and all of a sudden allow them to continue to operate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Raising some very imperative points there as we round down that conversation. Nozipho Mbatha, Vincent Olia's Air Logistics Managing Director, weighing in on the dynamics around FlySafair's shareholding structure.